Alright guys, here's the big picture. You're shopping for a laptop. What do you do? What do you want? What do you want in your laptop? Where there's a whole lot of things that come into play when you're shopping for a new laptop PC. Now, I happen to have a brand new 17-inch model of this the HP Pavilion DV17. I'd be glad to go over it for you. But I'm just going to go through a list, and you can see this link in the description of exactly how to pick what laptop you want to buy. And I hope these tips are helpful for you, so I'll go down the different parts of a laptop and see exactly which ones you might be interested in. So I'm going to start with the processor. The processor is one of the key features of a laptop. It determines how fast you're able to process information as far as opening and closing programs and downloading and installing, and basically the ability to process things. Now, some notebooks use AMDs and some notebooks use Intel. I happen to have an Intel Core 2 Duo running at 2.83 gigahertz. It's a decent machine, and I'm pretty sure this is a good processor for me to recommend to you guys. Now, I have to start by saying this is a 17-inch high-end notebook PC, basically. So that's the first. The second part is the brand of the processor, which right now I have to recommend the Intel Core 2 Duo, of course. You can also go with an AMD Turion. You can go with a Turion 64, a 64-bit processor. And I can go a lot into processor features in a later video if you so desire. So the next part I'm going to go into about your system is your RAM. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of stuff that goes into your RAM, but right now I have an 8 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM that I actually had to install into this laptop manually, because at the time that I customized it, there was no option for 8 gigs of RAM. So, Windows Vista generally is going to require, I'm going to say 2 gigabytes of RAM. You're not going to want to go with anything less than 2 gigabytes of RAM. Even if you're running in Windows Basic mode with absolutely no themes turned on, you're going to want at least 2 gigs of RAM for Windows Vista. And there's also the DDR2 RAM versus DDR3 RAM, and I highly recommend going with DDR3 if you can afford it. I happened to pick up some DDR3 RAM. It was extremely inexpensive, and I'll give you the newegg.com link eventually if I can find it again, but it's probably selling out. So that determines a lot of the speed of your computer. The more RAM you have, generally, the more applications you can have running at once without having a little bit of lag when the animations come in. By the way, Windows Aero, I found out, uses about 200 megabytes of RAM. So if you turn Aero and transparency and everything off, you'll save about 0.2 gigs of RAM. So there's also the 32-bit versus 64-bit issue, which again is going to be the topic for a separate video. The 32-bit operating system, which I've had the privilege to have, I had 4 gigabytes of RAM at the time, and I only had about 3.2 gigabytes recognized by that 32-bit operating system. Now, of course, I have 8 gigs of RAM, so I needed, obviously, to upgrade to 64-bit Windows Vista, which can handle up to 100 and something gigabytes of RAM. I'll get back to you on that. So that is a really nice feature, and I recommend getting at least 2 gigs of RAM, again, if you're using Windows Vista. So, and that'll also extend your battery life, of course, because the more RAM you have, the less time you have to access the hard drive, which uses a lot of battery. Next is, I'm going to say, your hard drive. I'm just going off the bat here, so just pardon me. The hard drive there's two major components to the hard drive, and that is the size and the speed. The more hard drive space you can afford, the more I recommend. If you can go with a dual hard drive, I also recommend that. However, if you do have external storage, I don't recommend going for size. I'm going to say go down the speed route. When I was shopping for my laptop, I noticed 3 different sizes of processors that you could actually, hard drives, pardon me, that you could actually go with. You could go with a 4200 RPM hard drive, which is a very low end, not really, it's like a 13-inch ultra portable that you happen to have a CD drive and listen to music. Then you go with the mainstream 5400 RPM hard drive. And this laptop I have a 500 gig external hard drive here made by Western Digital. So I didn't need size, so I just went with speed when I increased the price. And I went with a 250 gigabyte 7200 RPM hard drive, which is perfect for me. And trust me, the performance increase was worth it. I was working with a 4200 RPM hard drive, and I did not like that kind of experience. So that is the hard drive part of it. The next part is graphics. Your graphics card is probably one of the top most important parts of your laptop. There's graphics memory based on how much is actually needed dedicated to processing your video. The built-in integrated graphics by Intel or whatever, they're they're going to be terrible. I'll tell you that off the bat. They're going to be bad. But if you do go with an external graphics card, obviously it uses a tiny bit more battery. But gamers and highest desktop replacement notebooks are going to have, you're going to want a 512 meg graphics card. And if I could pull it up here, I'd show you. But I have a 512 meg graphics card. It's an NVIDIA GeForce 9700M, I believe. But I'll have to double check on that. So that's the basic lowdown on graphics memory. Again, a separate video if you so request. The next is your screen. Laptops are continually having larger and larger screens. Mine is a 17-inch desktop replacement. You can go with a mainstream notebook with about a 15.4 inch or a 14.1 inch. And the more portable ones have even smaller screens, such as a 13-inch, or when you get down to the netbooks, like a 9-inch or anything. But I've also seen 18-inch laptops, and yes, a 21-inch laptop. So don't be surprised, there are huge laptops out there. And obviously, the bigger your screen and the brighter it is, the more it'll suck battery. But hey, that's the price you pay. What I would recommend is if you really like to game or watch a lot of videos, then you would go with a higher definition screen, obviously. But there's really not much to talk about. I have a 1680 by 1050 screen on the 17-inch laptop. You could also go with 1440 by 900. Or I know someone who has a 16-inch laptop whose resolution was about 1300 by 768. Anyway, the last part I want to go over is your battery. Using a different processor will determine how much battery life you're going to get out of your laptop. An Intel Core 2 Duo is going to last longer than an AMD Turion. Taking steps that I've shown you in other wireless or other videos I've shown you about battery, such as turning off wireless or using less graphics or background tasks, can cut down on how much battery you actually use. So that's basically my laptop tips tutorial for you guys. Subscribe if you like this video. It was a pleasure teaching you guys exactly how I got my laptop. And again, customizing your laptop is going to be the best thing you want to do. Go online and look for different deals that you can get, such as like online retailers like newegg.com, which I'll show you guys later, SciStar.com. A lot of videos are to come on these topics. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope you like this video tutorial. And any other video requests, definitely PM me, and I will get to it. Thanks, guys. Peace.